Hey, what's going on? Illegal Mist here with another raid video. Today, I'm going to show you how to track and complete all of your dungeon tournaments and events with a few simple clicks, as well as how to start farming events and tournaments before you even wake up. Huge shout out to Farbsoft once again for letting us use RSL Helper. Make sure you guys join his Discord or consider donating to show him that you appreciate this product. In order to do this, you're going to need a PC with Windows installed, as well as RSL Helper. If you don't know how to install RSL Helper, make sure you watch this video I carded above, as well as my playlist for showing you how to use the basics of RSL Helper. Once we have RSL Helper installed, all we need to do is boot up RAID with RSL Helper. I can just go into my search bar and type in RSL. It'll pull up RSL Helper and I just simply click on it. We see that RSL Helper is booting up and we know that RAID will boot up with it. Now that RAID's booted up, you can see that my RSL Helper doesn't have any of the fields currently populated. If I go under event trackers, you can see that all of the events are black right now, meaning that there are no points for those current events. What we need to do is we need to go into a dungeon real quick and run a raid so that this kind of information populates. All I need to do for that is go into Doom Tower, go to any floor, and start a raid. Once my raid starts, all I need to do is back out of it. And you will see now my fields have populated. So RSL Helper now has the information on my account. Now that my information is populated on RSL Helper, I can go under the events tracker now, and we can see all of the events and tournaments that are currently going on in the game. If I go under something like 4th Anniversary Titan event, you'll notice that it's blank. Something like Arena populates because that event is currently going on. And something like Hero Level Up too, which is just a champ training event, you can see that some of these event rewards are black. When the event rewards are gray, it means that you've met that point threshold, and when they're black, it means that you haven't met them yet. So for something like the Get Artifacts, which is just a Dungeon Divers event, I need to go in and I need to click the checkbox next to it. Once I do that, this menu will pull up and I can go in and type in the point threshold for whatever reward I want. I don't care about the Epic Book or the Chaos Ore, so I'm just going to go for the Tier Lack right here at 5,500. I type that number in and then I click OK. Once I do that, I can leave and then go back to this, and you'll see that now it's green. That signifies that RSL Helper knows that we want to meet that point requirement for that event or tournament. I can also go back to the auto clicker section, and you'll see that the target event points is already populated with the current event points that we need. As well as down here in the report section, we can see that I've received the 4917 points for the event. If I go in and run a raid, we can see that our points received will change. We can now see that our Dungeon Diver points improved to 4929, and we received that piece of gear right there. We can go in and continue to run raids manually to check our point requirements, or we can simply go in, we can make sure that we have this box checked, we have the 5,500 point threshold met, and then have our auto clicker automatically run us up to the required points. We can see we got additional Dungeon Diver points for this one as well. We want to go in and have an RSL Helper go to a certain point threshold. All we need to do, again, click on this box right here, type in the number that we want, and for this example, I'm going to use 4945 so that we can see that it will meet this number and then it'll stop. So I'll click again and it'll start. We can see that our current received points is below that threshold, so that's why it started a raid. But we can also see that our target event points most likely will be met after this raid. Okay, now that our raid is over, we can see that our current points is 4953, and the auto clicker took us back to the events page to signify that we had met the requirement for the event points that we wanted. We can also go in and set the number of runs that we want to do. An example of why you might want to do this is for an event or tournament that, you kind of want to get that target threshold points, but it's not the end of the day, and you don't want to break the bank with your gems. You can set the number of runs so that you use some of your gems, but you don't use all of them. And if you don't hit the point requirement, you won't go over that number of runs. So we'll leave that as 0 because I want to make sure that I hit the target event points. I can also go in and use multi-level XP if I decide that I want to farm chickens while I'm doing raids. I can do all to max XP, next to max XP, and all minnow scrolls as well. When I do them all minnow scrolls, you can see that it gets rid of the target event points. I think that's just because it knows that there's no events that require minnow, so it just kind of blocks it out. But the all to max XP just means if I had champions that were all ranked 6-star but level 50, it would continue on until they hit that max level of 60, and then it would stop. Same thing for next to max XP, except for the fact that it would do it for only whichever champion hits that level first. We have it set to run effective resources, which means that it'll only use the energy currently in our account. Run infinitely is typically used for Doom Tower, so we won't worry about that. We can do shutdown when finished if you want to shut down RSL Helper once you're done with the task so that your computer can have some more bandwidth. And then within the auto actions, we can also go in and choose to auto refill if we don't want to wait for our effective resources to regain. So if we want to use gems, we click auto refill. And then we can also choose max refills if we want to set a certain number of maximum refills that we do. So if I only wanted to use 400 gems, I could set max refills to 10, and then the game will know to auto refill up until the 10th use of gems. So I like to typically run with run effective resources, as I know I have another day to finish this event. I have my auto sell artifacts already selected. I have a video carded up above to show you how to set your own sell options if that's something that you want to do. We also have selling simulation mode, which doesn't apply to this, but it applies to the sell options. So now that we've gone over the event tracker page, as well as how to set target event points and to make sure that we meet those points, whether we want to use gems or effective resources, we can also talk about the start time function. The start time function is something that RSL Helper uses based on your computer's time zone to tell raid to start running raids at a certain time of day. We can use this when we want to run raids at the beginning of a Dungeon Divers or CVC tournament. To use the start time, all we need to do is make sure we have it checked, and then we set the time to whatever time we want raid to start running. It's currently 1:20, so I'll set my clock to 13:21 as it's in military time. And then I have it set to run effective resources. I have my target event points. I have my auto sell on, and then I just click the start button. Once I click the start button, you can see that it's currently running, and it shows auto clicker starts in 1 minute and 2 seconds. So it'll make sure to start after that time, but it might take a couple extra seconds to actually run the raids. So now it's 1:21 on my clock, and RSL Helper shows in 2 seconds it'll start. And then sure enough, the raid starts, and you can see it's currently going. So now that the raids are starting, we can see start time has unchecked itself, and now it's just doing run effective resources with the target event points. So it'll run through all of the energy that I have, and it'll run until the energy's out, or until the target event point threshold is met. Once the energy runs out, it'll just continue on. Once it gets enough energy to run another raid, it'll continue to do so. That's kind of what the run effective resources means. We can see it automatically started, and it'll continue running until we meet that 537 points that we need. So the raid ended, and I don't feel like continuing on, so I just clicked the stop button, and you can see the target event points disappeared as we've basically told raid, hey, I want you to stop all functions. If I go back into the event tracker, I can see it's checked. All I need to do is uncheck, type in the target event points again, and then you'll see it auto-populates. I can also go in, if I click the stop button again, I can just go in right here and I can type in whatever I want. All right, and now we can see I typed in those points and it needed one raid to go through. And now you can see that the number of required points has updated. So I don't want to run anymore for the sake of time, but yeah, I just click the stop button and it gets rid of all of the target event points and everything. So it'll stop running a raid after this one. There you have it, guys. That's all you need to know about event tracking in RSL Helper, as well as making sure that you meet the point thresholds for any Dungeon Divers, Champ Training, or Dragon tournaments. A pro tip I have, make sure you don't try and track multiple events. RSL Helper will only track till the threshold of one of those events, so it doesn't know to go and continue on until you meet the threshold for the other event. What I mean by that, if you're trying to do a champ training tournament and a dragon tournament, and you have a solo farmer like Bad L, you can't try and track both events at the same time. If you do, it's only going to meet the threshold for one of them and then it'll stop. So if my dragon tournament ends tonight and the champ training has a couple more days, and I set both of the events up, and I meet the champ training requirements, it'll stop my dragon tournament running. So I won't meet the threshold for the dragon tournament, and it could cost me something like a fusion. If you guys like this kind of video, please let me know in the comments below. If you guys want to watch some other RSL Helper videos, be sure to watch this playlist, or I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.